Good afternoon, Jim. Happy Friday.
How's that 2026 working out for you there, Robyn?
So far, so good. I'm batting 100.
Good, eh? That's good. That's good. And we just have 362 point something days left to go. So it's all honking good.
It's all uphill from here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But you know what? I think a lot of us and a lot of our listeners understand that times are tougher than they used to be, and if you want to stay in the game, you're going to have to play a little harder. Which is why I heard you when you were when you were teasing this particular segment. I don't know about you. I did a double take because as we know, and I think a lot of our listeners know, there are certain what we refer to as hardy perennial stories that you do around the holiday period, and New Year's resolutions and what was your biggest event in 2025, and there's always the inevitable. By lunchtime today. Canadian CEOs have just made the annual salary of the average Canadian worker, and this particular instance, it was I don't know, it was a little bit. I think it was about like 10 o'clock in the morning as of today, but they hit it, and it was 62. For those of you keeping score at home, it was at 9:47 a.m. $62,795. That's how much they pocketed. And their year is, as we just pointed out, just beginning. And this is kind of, I think in the past, some people may have been hopping up and down about it, but I think in the past a lot of people would shrug and say, listen, if they want to pay them that, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Looking at where we are now, and looking at how touchy the entire issue of affordability, it's not inflation. It's not some arcane kind of economic concept that, oh no, there's nothing we can do about this. A lot of people call the show. A lot of people go to the store. And I will not say that this is happening in fact, but I can absolutely assure you that many people, when they look at their grocery bill and, they get home, no matter where they've been, they feel they've been gouged. They feel that somebody's screwing them over. They feel that this is absolutely ridiculous. How did these prices go up? Why did they go up? I understand there used to be a pandemic. I understand there used to be a lot of problems with the supply chain. I get all of that. That was 5 years ago. Explain to me. And by the way, here we are in 2026. Believe me, supply chain. They even got rid of the so-called wish fulfillment centers in Quebec. You can still get your Amazon stuff right quick. So spare me any BS about the supply chain. But when you see a story like this, when you see that people in business, the suits, the people you'll never get to meet and you'll likely never have to deal with, have made your annual salary by breakfast time today, and they still have the rest of the year to go. There is something very, very fundamentally wrong with that picture. I'm not a lefty. I play the market. I have profited quite well from the system of capitalism. But the fact is, we're also seeing a kind of, I don't know, call it a rigged game. It's like when you see somebody in government. Or you see somebody, especially like in Montreal or working on a public transit authority, making some obscene amount of money as a senior executive, and the rationale is, well, we have to reel them in because we'd lose them to the private sector. The private sector that runs how many public transit authorities? Because I'm trying to figure out what the template is, Robyn. I'm trying to figure out how people working on the public dime are entitled to private funding when they're not working for a company that's traded on the market, when they're not working on a profit-based or performance-based system, when in fact, keeping your head above water has always been the sort of objective of public transit authorities, not just in Quebec, but across the country. They are not supposed to be money-making situations. They're supposed to work efficiently and safely. And the idea that somehow all of a sudden the numbers just keep going up, it has become absolutely ridiculous. So now to see this, I'm not sure if in 2026, as many people are shrugging and then getting on with the rest of the year as they did, and as many, the same small number of people were getting angry over this, whether that, I have a sneaking suspicion that even the fact I'm talking about it now, people didn't know about the story, I'm thinking people are getting angry about that. Just on the some would say the very obscenity of the situation, where you can see people who are getting that much money for basically jobs. I'm very sorry, it's administration. It is not, some magical thing. And please don't tell me, well, it's not cash. It's going to be stock options and this and that. In the end, it's a benefit. It's money. and there's something very, very, very wrong with the picture where where your baseline is an average salary, and you have a bunch of folks who are making 236 times that average salary. I don't think there's anybody who's worth that kind of money.
Yeah, and context is everything. You mentioned 236. I thought I saw 248, but I'll take your word for it. There was whatever 236 times versus 248 times. No big difference there.
I think you're talking about the national average, because
right.
The numbers I'm looking at are Quebec.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
Times. So this is a breakdown, but you're quite. I mean, but this is it. When did any of this get normal?
And it's important to point out, too, because I think sometimes the anger gets misplaced. We're talking about those gigantic corporations, because only like 77% of all businesses in Canada have fewer than 10 employees. Mm-hmm. So the majority of the people who are running businesses in the country aren't making 248 times what their salary. Like, technically, I'm a CEO. I run an incorporated business. I have one employee. I don't make 248 times what she makes, but we're talking about the gigantic corporations. Those are the ones that are really screwing people over. And I've seen people fantasize about, forcing a CEO to live on his lowest paid employee's salary for a year. I would watch that reality show.
Absolutely. And what gets me is that, to a certain extent, it's changed a bit in Quebec, but it wasn't that long ago in Quebec, in 21st century Quebec, that if you were making $50,000 a year, gross, you were considered rich by the Quebec government. You were considered hey. And I got to tell you, when Francois Legault, I have no exclusive rights to the inside of his head. I don't think anyone does. But the fact is, when he says des jobs payants, bien payants, I wouldn't be surprised if he's talking 50 to 60 grand, and he hasn't been out very much. And we even saw it. Remember back in the days of the Liberals, what was it? I think that Philip Couillard, the premier at the time, said,
about groceries.
Groceries, you can get by $60 a week or something like that. And, and of course, newsrooms, which were better staffed back then, they had the people go out and say, let's see what we can get. Man, oh man, a lot of craft dinner on that. But anyway.
Yeah. Why are all political bets off for 2026, Jim?
Because, this time last year, Robyn, Justin Trudeau was the prime minister. Everything's one domino, in this particular instance, a domino named Chrystia Freeland, who surprised the hell out of everybody. And I don't care. And to be fair, I haven't heard it said, but nobody saw this coming, right? When she turned around on the day, I think it was the day of the budget.
Yes.
And turned around and said, no, I'm not going to be your point man for your at that point, with $62 billion deficit. You can get someone else to do that, please and thank you. And all of a sudden, the cracks began to appear. All of a sudden, Justin Trudeau, who was going to fight, he is going to fight that election, by gosh, and I don't care how many pair of socks I have to go through to do it. But no, the thing is, he left. And all of a sudden, here's Mark Carney, who's a very close friend of Chrystia Freeland. I would love to get to the bottom of that story one day. But he becomes prime minister. Pierre Poilievre is relegated once again to the opposition, and we'll find out his fate at the end of this month. But I can't tell you. I can't look at what's coming up. Certainly in October, the election here, and saying, well, the polls are saying the PQ. No, nobody's got a lead pipe cinch chance of forming the next government. I mean, I can tell you who doesn't have a chance to form the government, i.e. the CAQ, the present government, and Quebec Solidaire. As far as I'm concerned, they'll be off the map. But after that, who knows what's going to happen? If you and I were talking, 2 months ago, saying, well, it's going to be interesting to see where Pablo Rodriguez takes the Quebec Liberals, did anybody?
Yeah.
I mean, apart from the Bureau d'Enquête over at the Journal, did anybody see any of that coming? So this is it. And I only mention it because you and I and our listeners have literally spent decades, Robyn, in the same kind of political Groundhog's Day. You had a choice between separation and federalism. And we may be going back, and imagine that. People say, oh, well, breath of fresh air, back to that system. But this is where we seem to be headed once again. But it has become a lot tougher to turn around and look at a situation, whether it's in Quebec or in the rest of the country, and say, well, A, B, and C is going to happen. Because quite frankly, there are so many jokers in the pack, not the least of which being a particularly large one, that goes by the name of Donald Trump, who can throw spanners in the works of any number of plans people have in this country, but also the fact that, we are discovering, as we just got through talking about, the idea, people are getting angry, and they're not getting angry about abstract ideologies. They're getting angry about the feeling that they're getting screwed.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're probably right, Robyn. And it's kind of funny because maybe you won't have that one person who's going to, lead the mob on the palace. But if you start getting people thinking a certain way, spinning polls a certain way, you're going to hear a change in the political discourse in this country. And it's going to be very interesting to see which way it's going to go. But somehow I don't think the status quo, look at my absolutely courageous prediction, Robyn. The status quo will not endure. Like, gee, thanks. But this is it. I give you more. I don't have more. And quite frankly, I don't think anybody else has any particular insights into what's going to happen, even next month. Never mind the rest of the year.
We only have like 60 seconds left, Jim, but I would love to know what you think. If François Legault did the right thing and stepped down, do you think that the CAQ would have time to retool and make a good run at it?
No, that's why he's got no bench. I mean, just take a look at the cabinet. The most likely successor, as far as I'm concerned, would have been Christian Dubé. He is sitting as an independent. He's got no use for the government and no use for politics. I'll be surprised if he lasts till the end of the term. And apart from that, everybody else has been been the object of finger pointing over some screw up in their particular ministry. So no, it wouldn't. It was always a one-man show, and when it's over, it's going to be over. You're not going to see anybody trying to put together the broken pieces of the CAQ to form a new party. Maybe forming a different party, anything is possible. But this experiment has proved to be one of the biggest political disasters in the province's history.
Wow. Fighting words to wrap up with James Mennie from the Montreal Gazette. Thanks so much, James. Appreciate it.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Bryan Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.